Good morning and welcome to The Point. It is Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. Thank you to those of you joining us on the GBN, Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page, the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, the website www.gbn.gd, GBN TV channel 7, 11, and 20. Good morning to the listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9, and Hot 98.5, 98.7, as well as all the folks joining us on Party Grenada and Go to FET Facebook pages. My virtual guest this morning is the NDC's spokesman on public utilities and infrastructure, Mr. Phillip Alexander. Good morning, Mr. Alexander. How are you, sir?
Good morning to you, Blossom. Good morning to persons here in Grenada. Whether you're in PM, Madame Pierre, whether you're in Limlane, Carriacou, you're in Point Saline in Grenada, or in Butch Grove in St. Andrew, or in Liverpool in St. Patrick. I say a special good morning to you, those based at home. I want to also say greetings to those of us in the diaspora who, as usual, are very tuned into your program. And we want to say a special welcome to them and thanks for having us into their homes or into their vehicles or into their workplaces, wherever they are. We are pleased to be here and happy to continue to be of service in the development of our country. The National Democratic Congress continues to wish you well in this very challenging time, wherever you are. And we will definitely be reaching you further and many other national importance.
I like what you did there. You reached a lot of people with your greetings. I like the stretch this morning. Before we get into your, I should call it your focus sectors, let's of course deal with what many people are discussing these days, Grenada's COVID-19 situation and the way the cases have been unfolding over the last 2 weeks. I know the NDC has been sending out news releases speaking about the situations as recent as yesterday or Sunday, I believe, was the latest one. So just share with us the party's thoughts on what's taking place and what the party is prepared to do to help the country deal with these trying times.
Well, Blossom, first of all, let me say to all of the persons here at home where the COVID pandemic is hitting extremely hard. It is very challenging and we want to recognize that as a factor. We want to also say to the Grenadian public, be of good cheer, be of good faith, because together we will work this out. We would not overwhelm us. Together, we would be strong enough to make sure that we succeed. So we want to urge all of us, all Grenadians, all persons based here in Grenada at this time. We know it's difficult, but be careful. Observe all of the protocols. It's very, very important that you continue to do that. And those of us who have not been adhering strictly, please do. It is also very important for us to take some strict measures as we go forward. It will mean changes in what is normal for us. Those changes are not easy to adjust to, but it is absolutely necessary at this time. Those changes include taking care of your family by making sure that hands are washed, that making sure that where possible we build our immune system by using many different things. And I'm sure your healthcare providers can assist you in if you have dietary requirements or dietary specific requirements that can help you in these circumstances. But generally, loads of information are available out there to help us to build our own immune system. Those of us who are not yet vaccinated, you need to consider getting that done. Not all of us are prepared to do it at this time, and we are working with you where you are, but we are urging you to please consider getting vaccinated. It is also important as we build a system of defense going forward as a people. So together we would fight this. Together we would achieve. Together we would succeed. This is not a political thing or a partisan thing. This is a national issue that must be addressed in this way. And that is why we are making this special appeal to all and sundry to get on board in this process to fight COVID-19. It is a serious pandemic. It's a huge challenge for us as a people, and we urge you very strongly to get on board and take all the precautions as we go together to fight this very challenging pandemic as we go going forward.
Is there any suggestion you can give government to deal with this situation? They've put a number of measures in place, and they've expanded the testing and vaccination sites. But anything that the NDC can suggest?
Well, we have called for several different approaches. In fact, our call began way back at the start of the pandemic. I mean, you would recall, in fact, just recently, the party had put out a call through the then political leader, Sister Franca Bernardini, urging certain measures. Some of these measures are yet to be implemented, and we have seen that if some of these measures were implemented, they could have had a different result given what is happening currently. And it's a very straight, one of the examples in that initial call when Sister Franca made it was the facilities available to us in terms of what do we do in case the number of cases grow in a significant manner the way it has done now. We have been calling on use of a particular location given the isolated area, given the medical history associated with it, and to date that has not been heard. But we are not going to dwell there, but we have been making that call for a while. We've been making the call for the period of testing and quarantining to be reviewed. You do a test initially when you come in, and you're coming with a negative test, but the quarantine period is 5 to 7 days. Those are kind of things that we could review and implement almost immediately to change the current results. Those would help, and those would go a long way in terms of assisting. This is not a time to panic. This is not a time to be overly critical of any situation, but to understand that our leadership needs to recognize that there are persons of a different view, of a different ilk, and they too are Grenadians, and they too are willing to help. They too are urging our very best behavior in the circumstances. And the National Democratic Congress, just like any other national organization, is willing to participate in the process. We have offered our services. We have offered personnel in all sectors in dealing with the COVID effort. We have offered one in the area of health. And in the area of health, we have gone beyond offering just mere assistance in terms of advice. We have done so in relation to material assistance to persons who are in need. We have done so in terms of a health, food initiative, in terms of alleviating challenges that people face. We have done so in economic assistance. The care initiative by the National Democratic Congress, you would recall, has taken place. Those are things that we have done to assist as the pandemic emerged. We continue to do that, but we really, really want to get everybody on board. We alone can't do it. The government of Grenada, being the leader, they have a responsibility. They need to include others, not just the NDC. We are not the custodian of all knowledge and information, but we are here and prepared to help. And there are many other persons out there, many other persons, and they too are prepared to help. And they may share different political persuasion from you. But at this time, it's not your political persuasion. It's your ability to help as we face this great challenge going forward.
Mr. Alexander, I'm also happy that you're here because it gives us a chance to explore other topics. Over the past few weeks, COVID-19 has dominated the news in Grenada. It has dominated worldwide news for the past year and a half. But seen as your focus, or you're the spokesman for public utilities and infrastructure, it gives us an opportunity to look at some other things that may have been overlooked in the wake of Grenada's evolving COVID-19 situation, particularly Grenlec. I understand there are some things happening within the company that a lot of people may have missed over as we continue to speak about COVID-19. So just share with us some of the things that you've learned that has been taking place at the island's lone electricity company.
Well, Blossom, thanks again for having us. Let me say that before I go into that topic, and I mean, I only addressed the issue of COVID up front because I wanted to. I really want to reach out to the persons who have lost loved ones in the recent times to COVID. I know it's challenging, I know it's difficult, but rest assured you will get through this. The nation is behind you. We are going to be there with you every step of the way. And we urge you to be strong, be of good faith, and whatever you do, be aware that the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique are with you every single step of the way, and we are prepared to do what we can to assist you. Let me explain, Blossom. The first death from COVID in Grenada took place in my village. And one of the latest deaths took place in my village. So I am living with this every single day. And therefore, for me, it is a very personal and very challenging environmental issue in terms of being out there in my community. I'm a community person. I'm out there every day. I walk the street, I give ride, I say hello, I assist wherever I can. But the challenges that we face with COVID is going to ask us to review how we operate and how we go forward from here. And therefore, the issues of death in our communities are really, really hurting. And I know the families are extremely challenged and they have great difficulties in coping. I urge the ministry, wherever possible, and when I say the ministry here, the psychosocial assistance that is needed. In some instances, I know they are stretched thin, but please do your very best to assist some of these families. Because I appreciate, as I said, there are the initial death from COVID in Grenada took place in my village, and one of the most recent ones. So I want to really, and I've been in touch, and I note some of these people are really, really hurting. And even in the community, some people are not able to respond appropriately. They don't even understand some of the challenges that these families face. And their ways of responding sometimes is not well advised. And I want to urge that the ministry responsible for that really move to help in those circumstances. A word to the wise is sufficient. So let me take you straight on to the area of part of what I'm here this morning to raise. Mm-hmm. We have seen and heard the issue of Grenlec. We have repurchased the shares of WRB. I mean, those of us who are following it very closely, some of us will describe it, the ink and dry on the paper yet. We have just taken it over. But there are several allegations coming forward, and we need explanations from the line minister, from the board of directors, whoever is responsible, from what we're hearing in recent days. And I urge, as a people, the government of Grenada represents us, and they have a responsibility to explain to us what the situations are as they emerge in various sectors. Grenlec is no mean feat. Grenlec is a significant investment. We have taken a significant chunk, over $200 million of taxpayers' money, whether it be a loan, whether it be a grant, whether it be a gift from somebody individually. We are yet to receive. In fact, in the parliament of our country, one of our leaders indicated that it don't matter where the money comes from. That I find utterly disrespectful to us as a people. But be that as it may, we have to go past these leaders when they express such opinions, because that is unfounded, that is not well thought out, and things like that doesn't sit well with people. Be that as it may, we have been hearing recently what almost deja vu, almost a reoccurrence of what we heard in the late 80s, 90s, what the World Commission spoke of the need for Grenlec to purchase engines. And those engines are going to be purchased from private individuals overseas. And we have no problem because we don't manufacture engines here. So we have no problems with that. However, what we're hearing is what is proposed, and that is why I asked for clarity on these allegations from the minister and from the board. What is being proposed, I do not presently have a copy with me, but I have been briefed on it, and I am sure the public will be aware of it shortly, the actual copies of the proposed contract. That seemed to be ill-advised, and I really urge the board of directors of Grenlec to review what is being proposed or alleged to be proposed at this time. Really take a step back before any decision is made. The information reaching us indicates that the engines that are proposed to be purchased for the generation of electricity are inadequate for the purposes which they are going to be asked to function, the function that they will be asked to perform. It is well known that we have many persons in Grenada, and that is why when a decision of that nature and magnitude, the government are not the only custodians of information and knowledge. Please let the people of Grenada know what is happening so that we can bring the best set of advice. The NDC had dealt with the issue of Grenlec while in office. We had put some of the best professionals together to make the expertise available to the company. We are still in a position where we have access to some of these persons and who are willing to give the best professional advice that they can possibly give in the circumstances. What we are learning, Blossom, is that the current proposal by way of purchase of engines for Grenlec is woefully inadequate for the task at hand. We asked the minister, we asked the board of directors to let us know what the real situation is. I urge, and we call upon them, because you see, today we're doing it before it happens. Sometimes people tend to think, well, you always come after. It has not yet been purchased. So let us together have the information and get the best professional advice before you make such a decision. We are going to be making the proposal available to the public because access we do have to it. And we are going to make it available to the public. And let us analyze it together. We have expertise in Grenada. We have expertise in the diaspora. And I'm sure some of them are listening to us. Let us get their views, given what we require. Remember, Grenlec is ours. We have just spent a significant sum. Over $200 million have just been spent on the shares. The ink hardly dry on the paper when we sign off, and yet still, we're going to go there again. It's almost, as I said, deja vu. It goes right back to the World Report. Look at the World Report. The same issue. Who are the players? The very Minister of Communication and Works with responsibility for the company today was one of the players back then. The current Prime Minister was one of the players involved back then. It is a situation where we mustn't repeat our mistakes. Let us not go back there. I know 3 members benefit, or some members benefit, or 3 members benefit, but please, the benefits are not only to be shared among yourselves. The people of Grenada need to benefit also. And what we are hearing, we are not going to benefit from what is proposed and what is currently at the table. That's what I want to say at this time.
So you said the generators are not fit for purpose.
Indeed.
What does that mean?
That is our understanding. What our
What does that mean
understanding
for customers as well as
Right.
the company who's supplying the electricity?
Well, first of all, what is being proposed, as we understand it, the allegations are that what is being proposed is not fit for purpose, given the type of load that and the kind of environment in which these engines are to perform. And therefore, the capacity of these engines to perform in our environment and in the environment in which the company, i.e. Grenlec, is operating, these proposed engines are woefully inadequate for the purposes. So please take on board that that is part of the problem that we face, that these engines would not be in a position. You know, an expert in the field described it as, physically, I am a tall person. And they were speaking to me knowing my physical stature. They say it is compared to your height versus a toddler just starting to crib. That is the height, that is the difference in what these engines are in the environment in which you are asked to perform versus what they can do. The toddler being what they can do, and the environment in which you are asked to perform is at high height. It is really a difficult situation that is being proposed to us at this stage. So that is why we call in early.
So what would that mean for our electricity supply? And do you have evidence to support what you're saying?
Right. That is why we said that is an alleged situation. That is why we are calling the government to come clean with us. Let the people of Grenada know what the facts are before any decision is made. That is why this call is being made early. You see, as I said, people tend to say, well, you guys always come in after the fact. We have been privy to this fact now, or this information now. Tell us what is the situation. Explain to us what is proposed, what is happening. If it is a mere allegation and there is no truth to it, it's unfounded, it's baseless, let us also know that. But that is why we are calling on the minister. We are calling on the board of directors of Grenlec. It is also alleged that the manager of Grenlec has been asked to proceed and leave. Upon his return from vacation, he was asked to proceed and leave. We are not clear if that is so. We also know that his contract was going to come to an end in November. So there is some time between now and then, and I would have thought that it will be wise, whoever is a new manager, there will be a period of transition in between the current manager. And those are, industry practice. There would be a period of transition in between the new manager and whoever the new and the current manager. So to send the manager and leave, if that is so. Those are the issues that we are hearing, and we really, really wish that the government must come clean on this. Let the people know, is it that is so? Is there a changing of the management of Grenlec that we are not aware of? And if so, why? After all, Grenlec is part of us. We are paying the bill. At the end of the day, it's the people of Grenada paying those electricity bills morning, noon, and night. And in this very difficult time of COVID, it is even more imperative that we do what is required to make sure that we get value for money. It is going to continue to challenge us, and we are calling on the government for an explanation, given what we are hearing at this point in time, what the allegations are coming out of this.
Okay, well, since there are still allegations and we don't have evidence as yet, let's move on to something else. Let's move now to your in your capacity as a spokesperson on infrastructure. Grenada's road system continues to be a bother to us drivers who spend thousands on parts. your thoughts on the current situation with Grenada's infrastructure, not just our road system, but we also have a number of tricky spots across the island when it comes to landslides and so on and so forth. What are your thoughts on these things?
Well, I mean, the infrastructure, Blossom, first of all, is wider than just the roads, but we're going to deal with the roads eventually. I mean, I'm sure persons traveling the west side will tell you to go through Mount Morris is a challenge. To get up to Victoria is a challenge. The road is bad all over. I was recently up in Mount Senior in Victoria, and I could assure you the roads there are terrible. Come over the hills from Tempe all the way to Grenville. The challenges there are great. We are doing some work in the Tivoli area from Tivoli all the way up to Mount Rich. Even there, you would see that there are some gaps that are challenging persons on the road. Don't ask about St. David's. Have you attempted to drive between Syracuse and Vincennes in recent times? Or Providence?
Sometime last month, yes.
And you recognize the conditions of the road in that area? So the issue is a national issue. I was in Carriacou recently, and rest assured, the similar challenges exist on the sister isle. I attempted to drive through Tigo to get out to Mount Pleasant. I went over to 6 Roads, and rest assured that the road conditions are extremely challenging. So we appreciate the difficulties, but look at the infrastructure, how it almost collapsed. If we had another hour of what happened Friday afternoon in terms of rain in Grenada, you recognize the kind of flooding that took place in Grenville, in St. George's, coming down on the main road in Tempe by the old Coke factory to the new one. I mean, the vehicles in River Road, you look at what happened there. Those are infrastructural challenges that we have to repair. We have to get them up to speed. And we're not saying that in a vacuum. We recognize the issues of the economic constraints that we are facing, but we ought to take measures that will give us the optimum use of these roads, of these basic infrastructure as we attempt to build and to revive our economy, given the challenges that we face from COVID. Because the issues of COVID are not just one of a health challenge. It is great as a health challenge. It is getting there as an economic one. And the people who are suffering most are the persons who are the most vulnerable. Every day, farmers are telling you that they can't get to their lands. They can't get to their farms. They are losing out on marketing opportunities for their products. The quality of the products by the time they get from farm to market is significantly reduced because of the road conditions. And those are real economic issues for people. So COVID, I agree, is affecting us on the health side greatly, but so too on the economic side.
Let's take a quick break, Mr. Alexander, and then we're going to come back and continue the discussion. We're speaking with the NDC spokesman on public utilities and infrastructure on this morning's To The Point program. We'll be right back.
Feel good facts. Avoid the most common causes of spreading the flu. Cover your coughs and sneezes with a tissue, dispose of it straight away, and either wash your hands or use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer.
The Hero CPL T20 is back. Catch all the smashing action from St. Kitts and Nevis, August 26 to September 15
on GBN.
It's how you play.
As GBN brings you coverage of this year's Hero CPL, there will be some adjustments to our programming lineup. On match days, transitions will be aired from 5:25 p.m. and GBN TV News will be aired from 6 p.m. and repeated following the CPL game. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere with sports coverage.
You're not here to give it all, then what you here for? So get up.
This is a plastic bag. From February 1st, these bags are not to be used when shopping for food. So here's what you should do. Refuse plastic. Instead, bring your own reusable shopping bags and say goodbye to plastic. Choose to refuse plastic. Walk with your reusable shopping bags and help protect pure Grenada from plastic pollution. A message from the Ministry of Climate Resilience.
Welcome back to The Point. We're speaking with the NDC spokesman on public utilities and infrastructure. At this point in the program, we're going to open the platforms for our viewers and listeners who may have comments, questions, queries, concerns. The landline number, 435-2041. The WhatsApp number, it's also 435-2041. Please, only written messages on WhatsApp. No voice or video calls, no voice notes, no YouTube links, no videos or pictures. Only written messages on WhatsApp. And you can continue to post your comments and questions on Facebook and YouTube. Let's go to our first caller. Good morning, caller.
Good morning to Blossom and to all your followers on different platforms. To your guest, Mr. Phillip Alexander. First of all, I'd like to express condolence to all those who have lost loved ones over the last week or so through the pandemic. We haven't heard anything for the morning, but God forbid I have a feeling that we may hear more today. You don't move from 9 or from 7 to nothing, just like that. So it's sad. A couple of things. First of all, Grenlec. Well, after 8 months or 9 months of being in charge of Grenlec, the rhetoric has changed. So no longer is Grenlec forcing on Grenadians the highest utility rates in the world, as one ad had said. But suddenly, if your rates are high, it's because you are not using energy wisely. So we have now a lot of ads, high frequency, a lot of money being spent to tell people if your bills are high, it is your fault. Secondly, they are also saying that all the money is not going to Grenlec. Some of them is government tax. Some of them is for solid waste. So it's an attempt now to say that don't blame Grenlec, blame yourself, or blame the other taxes and charges. Totally different from what we heard before. And that's a deliberate attempt because they have not been able to lower the rates. Secondly, on the matter of Grenlec on the board, I saw that coming. And as I said to folks, there are three things that concern me, questions I have to get answered about the board in Grenlec. I have no problem with all the people on the board. Every one of them is qualified and capable of contributing to a board. But you have to ask yourself one question. Are they the best people we have? They're good in their own rights, but are there other people we could have used apart from those? Are they the only good ones? Secondly, because of the association of most of those people with the ruling administration, what will happen if the government changes? Are we going to lose all our board members just like that? Are they thinking of things like that? So they're all from one party. You have elections, the government changes. What's going to happen to these people?
Okay.
There must be balance. And the last question is, because of the close association to the government, if a decision has to be made, would we get the most professional and financially prudent outcome? or would you get a political outcome?
Okay.
How strong will they be in standing up against the government? So because of those three concerns, I see disaster down the road for Grand Lake.
All right.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much. You too. Mr. Alexander?
Yeah, thank you, caller. And that is, I share your concerns, and that is a part of the concerns that we as a party face. And we continue to share with the Grenadian people. And that is why we are bringing the situation to the public. Let us face it. Grenlec is our sole provider of energy. I mean, all of the electricity supply and distribution is via Grenlec. So it is of national importance. The national development of our country is not a partisan thing. It is not going to be reduced only to whether you are green, yellow, or black. You are going to face these challenges whether you're green, yellow, and black. So therefore, it is going to be important that the decisions that we make are recognizing that all of us have stake in this thing. So to treat it as if to say, I am one of those persons that the personnel involved in the current administration at the leadership level in directly related to the Grenlec matter. They too will pass. We will pass from here. But our country's development will have to continue. And it is not a personal thing. It is not about the minister. It is not about the prime minister. It is about we, the people of Grenada, and where we are at with what we need to do to change the current construct that is currently operating. We can't do the same thing. We have seen the same moral type reports. What are we going to go back there again? After all, our country deserves better. If we're going to change the paradigm, if we say our children's children are going to be paying off these bills that we are currently billing up for them, they need to understand that the parents and we, the forebearers, take some action. What is required at this stage? That people of the relevant competencies and capacity make their comments known, make their interests known, make their views known to the public so that we can get together and distill from all of those views and comments and contributions the best possible situation for our country and our people. Grenlec is in no mean order depending on us at this time to get that done. So we cannot go back down that route that led to the commission. That type of approach doesn't make sense. It doesn't add value to us. We have our country to build, people. We have a nation to build. And we can't do it by dividing ourselves. We have to do it by working together. And that is why this call is being made very early. And that is why when the caller makes these comments about perceived partisan position of board members and abilities of, we are calling on for us to review all of these things. Let your views be heard. Where are the leaders in our society, our community leaders, our family leaders, our religious leaders, our NGO specialists, our persons involved in production, our business community? Let your voices be heard in this very important time, because that is important too. You can't sit back. As one person said, the only thing that is required for wrong to continue is for good men to sit and do nothing. We can't afford this. And we owe it to our people, we owe it to our current generation and our future generations to take a different approach to the development of our country.
A question on WhatsApp. There are reports that NDC members encouraged people to play jab jab. I want to know, what do you have to say about that?
The issue of jab jab to me is something that history will deal with. Your organization was publicly accused of covering jab in a particular way. Are we saying that what is happening in our country is as a result of jab? Is that what this being implied? So I don't want to go down that route. Is there any facts to that? I mean, so sometimes when people go down these very narrow and restricted routes, it doesn't offer the best and widest discussion on the issue. So is the issue jab, or is the issue a certain degree of management of a situation that requires a different approach? Let me tell you, part of the challenge that we face out here is sometimes the wrong messengers deliver the message, or attempts to deliver the message. Very often, if we allow the healthcare providers and the leaders, I am sure persons in our community would recognize how the messaging was different in a most recent press conference by the government of Grenada, which included 2 female healthcare providers. A very different approach. The public would have seen a very different approach to the thing. That is what leadership is. That is what leadership is. It is not going to go down that route of some issue as whether or not to think the COVID situation in the country has evolved because of the playing of jab. After all, look at some of the figures I saw shared in the very social environment, in the social media realm, and are released by the government of Grenada, where 1% of the took place, 1% of the COVID transactions in the country, our occurrences, was in the part of the country where the most jab was present. So what are you saying? That's why you're saying don't reduce the discussion to an issue of jab.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller.
Hello, good morning, Blossom.
Good morning.
Blossom, this morning I was hearing that, Minister Delma Thomas. She is recommending that the Princess Alice Hospital be used as a COVID facility. And I did remember that when Mrs. Bernadine was leader of the NDC, I did remember Mrs. Bernadine recommending that the Princess Alice Hospital be used as a COVID facility just in case we have need for it, But she was ignored at the time. She was ignored, and now I'm hearing Mrs. Delma Thomas considering whether they had begun using it already, or whether they are considering using the Princess Alice Hospital as a COVID facility. I am saying that this was already advised by Mrs. Franca Bernadine, the leader of the NDC at the time. So, it is really, really not fair when people are criticizing and condemning the NDC for not doing anything about the COVID. It is really not fair because we have done our part and we continue to do our part even right now. Recommendations are being made right now. For instance, Kennedy Roberts. He's an expert on health. And, they're not really interested in inviting him on the committee. So that's what I'm saying this morning.
Thank you very much, caller. Mr. Alexander?
Good caller. Blossom, you see, that is a challenge that we face as a people. It depends on who gives the advice, who talks the information, who talks the message. Some of us feel that, we don't need to listen to you. Where you come out? 2 male crab can't live in one hole. It is that kind of arrogance is what causes us to be where we are. We are a people that are not difficult in of ourselves. We will talk. We would want to make our voices heard. But we mean good for our country. The National Democratic Congress laid that advice about the use of Princess Alice almost 18 months ago. And many others similar that has not been yet taken on board. But we're seeing that if some of these things are taken on board, they can lead to a different set of results. We are not the only custodians of ideas, and don't miss it. We're not saying that you have to listen to the NDC only. But please, this is a period that requires a different type of leadership. The leadership that is currently being provided by the government of the NNP is not cutting it. It is not cutting it in the face of COVID. It is not cutting it in the face of the infrastructure collapse that we face in our country. And it is not cutting it in the face of the economic challenges that the development of our people requires.
Let me go to a YouTube question. Hold on. I don't want to call name right. Radio personality that has been known to be an advocate of the NDC is calling for a new party going into the next election because there are people who run and lost more than twice and won't abandon ship for other young people to lead in the next election. Please comment.
First of all, the internal workings of the National Democratic Congress are that which they are, and we will continue to respect that and the voices of the people at the internal level. But let us face it, the National Democratic Congress is participating as a public body in the electoral process, in the leadership of our country. We have run the state of affairs, and we are recognizing the importance of youth and the importance of having more young people involved in all of the decision-making process. We continue to involve young people at all levels of the party. We continue to get new ideas. I am sure the radio personality and others may or may not have heard that there are a number of new young people who are joining the party, who are currently working within the context of reorganizing and bringing new blood, new ideas to the party, and that we welcome, and we continue to aim for a higher level of decision-making and better decision-making. That being said, all and sundry, not just young people, all and sundry have a role to play in the development. Let us face it, some of us have different experiences that we can bring to bear on the development of our country, party, and communities. And therefore, we all have a part to play in the development of our society.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Auntie Blossom. Good morning, sweetheart.
Good morning, Miss Jacob. Go right ahead with the question.
And good morning to my wonderful brother by your side. Good morning, darling.
Good morning.
You answer me? Yes, I want to give you...
He answered. He was just muted a little while. Go ahead.
Okay. I want to give him one question I'll ask. What I want to tell you, you see the hospital that going down by the bay. I can't remember the place right now. We had a hospital there, and it was Uncle Gary and Brother Blaze. I know about that. But with this kind of thing that really no, the opposition are really no. Sorry to tell you that, my darling. Sorry to tell you that. But the opposition that really no. It's worse than the opposition before. You know why I want to tell you that? I follow politicians. And when you hear following politicians, are going at the top. So I know. Uncle Blaze and Uncle Gary, he had things that Uncle Blaze was to think. They was kind of coming in between. But all you don't come in between at all in the new National Party. Don't say that about the new National Party. The new National Party, it was the NDC that they ran in the nothing. Well, we did doom. doomed to doom. So, although my beautiful brother don't have this bad mind in your heart, I don't have no bad mind for you. You see how I address you good? He has some of our members. When they come on the program, is what they doesn't say.
Okay.
But my darling, you have a wonderful day. God bless you. And bye-bye, sweetheart.
Have a good day, Ms. Jacobs. Alexander?
Thank you, caller, and you have a wonderful day. God bless you just the same to all of Grenada, Carriacou, and PC Martin.
There was a WhatsApp question. How has your organization developed to handle the challenges we are now facing?
Well, first of all, my recollection of the NDC's proposal, it was the only party in the last general election that laid out a development plan for the country. Publish it. That plan is still on the table. It is still relevant. It is still something that needs to be considered. And the excerpt somewhat with the examples that we have just seen in terms of challenges with the health situation, which Francis Bernardine so eloquently presented 18 months ago, the example the caller gave, is part of that plan. In a similar way, the part of the infrastructure, Blossom, very soon, we are seeing this today, and today it is COVID and the challenges are there. In terms of infrastructure, you would recognize as the southern part of the island continues to be developed along the lines that we are currently developing it on, with a limited amount of planning capacity and planning initiative in the development, the traffic situation in the south will continue to be a major challenge. You imagine a major accident happened in Grenada and we had to get people out of and through the airport. So, you see what is happening in Grand Anse Valley? You see what is happening on Grand Anse Road? Imagine half the rain that fell on Friday afternoon fell one day and we have to get people out and Grand Anse is flooded. And we want all of us to get onto the airport in the case of an emergency going through Grand Anse Valley. What happens? Those are things in the development that we must take on board. And it's examples like this that must draw out from us a deeper degree of thought so that when we are in position of leadership, we are capable of making the right decisions. And that is what the NDC is asking us, is asking the Grenadian people to recognize about what we are proposing. The approach is different. And rest assured, we are not the only custodians of knowledge and information, but we certainly are prepared to share it for the benefit of the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Peace Martin.
Closing comments, Mr. Phillip, Mr. Alexander, as we wrap up this morning, and in it, somebody's asking, if asked, would you contest the next general election?
I can do the last one first. Sure. It's quite straightforward. I've always been offered myself to serve. And it's not about me. It's about what the people want. And they must decide that. The people of Grenada will decide what role I play at the constituency level, at the community level. If they perceive that I am capable of playing such a role, so be it. If they decide otherwise, so be it also. Because that is something that we must recognize as the democracy that we work within. So I am quite prepared to be of service, and the service does not necessarily mean being on a ballot paper. That is not the issue for me, one way or the other. Our country is more than a ballot paper. The development of our people is more than a position of power or a ministerial portfolio. The development of our people is a lot deeper than that. And I am prepared to serve wherever they so desire. On the issue of how do we as a people change this? Because we must change it. If we don't change it, it is not, and as I said, we have gone past the Honorable Prime Minister and the Minister of Communication and Works and the individuals in this thing. The country requires a different paradigm in its development. The young people, the old people, the middle-aged people, the persons of higher income, of lower income, they all have a part to play in the development of our country, and let us get them involved. Hence, the National Democratic Congress have embarked on a program of including new persons. I'm sure you would have heard the leader of the opposition, many young persons, many new persons are coming forward to join the party. And the development of our country is what is at heart. And let their voices be heard. Thank you, and you have a wonderful rest of the day, Blossom, the people in the diaspora. Before I leave, though, I want to personally express my condolences to two particular families. The family of Miss Maud Hutchinson from St. Patrick, a lady who has served this country. Blossom, is too much before your time, when the homemakers was the homemakers. My mother, I could remember in the 1970s, my mother was able to learn to make tomato ketchup, for which she won a prize because of the teachings of Miss Maud Hutchinson and the International Women Federation assistance. And an independence exhibition. That is the kind of community relations that we had throughout the Grenada, throughout the Caribbean. And we want to recognize her passing and say to her family to be strong, and our deepest condolences. And Brother Lucas out of Guelph, who was a very active NDC member, we want to say to you, your family, or to his family, be strong in this very challenging period. Thank you for having the National Democratic Congress, and have a good one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alexander. You enjoy the rest of your day as well, and stay safe.
Thank you.
NDC spokesman on public utilities and infrastructure, Phillip Alexander, we thank him for being our guest, and thank you, viewers and listeners, for tuning in to The Point. Always appreciate your listenership and your viewership. We are getting ready for the broadcast of this morning's post-cabinet briefing, which will be facilitated by Minister of Health Nicholas Steele, as well as Dr. Taisha Donald and Dr. Mayana Charles. That broadcast will be carried on GBN TV, channel 7, 11 and 20, right here on Classic 105. I am not, as well as on Hot 98. So stay tuned to the platforms as we hear the latest updates from our health officials. Following that, we will start the broadcast of today's CPL game right here on Classic and GBN. So stay tuned for Postcab to be followed by CPL on Classic and GBN. And the man in the business, Mr. Graphic Songs, will take over in Hot 98 at the end of Postcab. So enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Continue to be safe, observe the protocols, and have yourselves a blessed one. I'll be back tomorrow morning, God willing.